you've fallen so low that holding on to that belief gives you less dopamine than just killing the ego and having it be reborn as the phoenix. I read a really interesting article, which I thought was applicable to music, and I'm sure you guys have felt both ends of the spectrum before. But it was an article post by Mark Manson, the author of The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And the article was called The Feedback Loop from Hell. And he goes over basically this idea how we as humans have the conscious capability to hate something about ourselves and then hate that we're hating ourselves. And it's this feedback loop from hell where you're feeling guilty about feeling guilty, and that builds on top of it, and it just spirals out of control. And he goes into this idea of, if you're chasing something or if you're feeling guilty or whatever, there's this implication that you're lacking something. And so the more you try to be happy, let's say, the more you're reinforcing this fact that you're not happy and that you need to chase happiness. And he brought up a really interesting point where he was like, doesn't it seem how the people that put in the least amount of effort or just cruise through life seem to get the best results sometimes? And I do find truth in this, because I know anytime I've really tried to like wedge in an idea forcefully and get it to conform to reality, it doesn't turn out that way. But when you sit down and just write a song and you come in with that mindset of anything goes, or if you guys have ever done like ghost producing for people, it's like, as soon as you're not attached to your song, you don't give a fuck, it turns out amazing.
Yeah.
What up with that?
Attachment's a beast, man. And you brought up the word trying a bunch, and that's a word I've like really worked to get out of my vocabulary, along with a lot of other words too that I found were unhelpful. And trying, when I realized that when I put it in the past tense, like, oh, I tried to do that, oh, I will try to do that. You put it in the past tense, I tried to do that, means that shit did not get done.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to try to do something, like, I don't try to make music, I sit down to make music. It might be good, it might be bad, but trying actually has nothing to do with it.
That's a very good point, actually, because you're almost setting the standard that it might not get done and probably won't get done. You'll try to do it, but
it's leaving the door open for not actually doing something. I'll try to make it to your birthday party.
Yeah, dude, that's actually so true. Anytime, and I'm guilty of this too. Someone asks me to do something, be like, oh yeah, I'll try to get to that for sure. No, I'll definitely try to get to that. It's like, there's probably 30% chance I get to that.
Yeah.
There's a 30% chance that I will try to do it.
Right. You look at your to-do list and you're like, nope, tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to give a fuck and then I just didn't.
I do definitely agree with you though on the like, when it's not your music, it's so like mixing a record for someone else is the easiest math and engineering problem for someone that has experience with those tools ever. You're like, yep, need to do this. That's good. Need to do this. That's good. Need to do this. That's good. Reference this. Great. Okay. This sounds good. Yep. We're done. Like, never done that with my own music ever. Not even close, dude. I'm like, no, this little thing is like not quite there. And like, I got to tweak it endlessly.
Totally. And it drastically affects the quality of the final product. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of people are struggling through this, where they think more effort equals better result. And it's not like that. The saying that songs don't get finished, they get abandoned, really rings true louder every year the more you produce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and especially the more you get better at producing, the more you realize how much better you can still get at producing. Like, you take one step and realize there's 10 more steps per step you take. There's a really well-known and renowned mixing engineer out of Atlanta. His name's Amon Jackson. Shout outs to AJ on the buttons. And he told me this thing when I was taking a class from him in his studio. He said, every 3 months, even after 25 years, I get better. I can get noticeably better reliably every 3 months. I can listen to a 3-month-old mix and be like, yeah, I could have done that a little better now that I know. And it took this huge weight off my shoulders. And being able to pass that on to the producers I'm talking to and my students has been really helpful to so many people, because like there isn't some magical point 2 months away that you're not getting to consistently, where you're just going to be a good mixing engineer now. It is a never-ending rabbit hole that you will always be falling down. Enjoy the fall, because even if you speed up your ability to learn and apply these new techniques, the technology is going to change. Some of that's going to become irrelevant, and something even better than what you just learned is going to come out next week. So don't worry about knowing it all. Figure out what you can learn and apply and retain, and be prepared to do that until you die.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yay!
100%. I mean, like, that's a concept that I relate to as well. Like, and you know, there's a lot of big name artists that will tell you, like, I thought when I got to this level that I would be like, fuck yeah, I made it. I'm there. I'm so happy with myself. That day never comes. That day never comes. You always are like, yep, I did that. What's bigger? What's bigger? I gotta get the next thing. And we all fall victim to that with our own music. Like, you release that song that you were so proud of, and then like a month later, you're like, you don't feel good about that song still at all. You're just like, yeah, whatever, that happened. All right, how can I make the next hit? Mm-hmm. And like, if you never actually stop to appreciate the amount of work that you put in to get to where you are, and appreciate the work that you are doing, like you're gonna burn out, because you're never actually gonna feel the what's the word that I'm looking for? You're never gonna feel that, like,
satisfaction.
Yeah, kind of satisfaction, but it's like the accomplishment of the intrinsic motivation. It has to happen like within you first. You can't look for external factors to validate the work that you've put in, because that's a never-ending cycle of, I need a higher external factor, right? You get to 10,000 followers on Instagram. You're like, oh wait, there's people that have 10 billion followers or whatever the fuck. You're like, I'm still not there. Like, you have to realize that, like you said, always a work in progress. And you still have to be very happy with the extraordinarily large amount of work that you've put in to get to where you are, in order to like be happy continuing to do that. Otherwise it's like empty. It's hollow.
Yeah, man. Like,
Totally.
you talk about getting there, but there is no there. There literally is no there. You're always right here. It's always right now. And you can always just work to improve on where you were yesterday. And that's all that really matters. Like, I heard this quote from Allen Iverson, who's like, I don't practice so I can get better than you. I just practice so I can get better than me yesterday.
That's the way to be. There's just way too many factors. I mean, sure, maybe up to your 20s, the factors are a bit more limited and you can compare yourself with people, and it's a bit more of a level playing field. Not really, but kind of. But by the time you get like, I mean, even now where I am in life at 20, coming up on 24, and I'm sure you guys especially can relate, boomers, no. There's just so many unique circumstances that happen to you that it's just like, you can't play this comparison game with other people anymore. And it's like, you realize you only are in competition with yourself. And I think too, that can be a pretty deep rabbit hole to get down. Like, Evan, when you were talking about releasing, I think a big part of it is because from our perspective, well, first off, the audience, they just see this beautiful sculpture, but you're looking at it from the back and you see all the scaffolding and the duct tape and all the like Play-Doh keeping it together and all that crap. And it's just like, man, this is so horrendous, but nobody's seeing it. They're seeing just the fresh view for the first time. And it's really hard to stay neutral to that when you've heard it a million times in a way worse state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, you talked about comparison a lot. I've heard the quote, comparison is the thief of joy. And amen to that shit.
For sure. Where was this conversation like 6 hours ago when I was feeling like against the world, like I was never going to fucking get it?
Waiting for you to intrinsically cheer yourself up and then have a fun combo with your buddies.
Yeah, that's really the gist of it. Fun combos with your buddies will definitely fix your your
Inabilities.
Very, very non-consequential thoughts about your own insufficiencies.
Time is just an illusion. You had that thought because you knew we were going to talk about it later.
Yeah, you're right. I'm psychic for sure.
The Lord works in mysterious ways. I should know.
Hit up that link down below to get your psychic consultation from Evan.
Yeah.
Amen.
I read bike tires.
Serum presets.
I read sweaty helmets. Yeah, mostly. I got a psychic shop set up here in Bend. Bring by your used spots. I was about to go so deep on that, and I was like, I can't even go there.
That's okay. Ends. We're already in a lot of rabbit holes at once. You know, if any of them just happen to have a bottom, cool.
Right.
Hey, you know, the part about rock bottom is people think it's a bad place to be. It's like, nah, you finally stopped falling. Congratulations. Now you have a place to stand and you know which way's up.
There's always a deeper bottom, I feel. I think rock bottom can be relative.
Yeah, that's
like
wise.
Shit can always get worse. So when you feel like you've hit rock bottom, it's actually like a time to be grateful, because I think that's when well, so from what I understand it and from lectures I've listened to, it's like it is painful for us, and we have dopamine preservation systems to attach to these beliefs that we hold because it's how we navigate the world. And I guess maybe you could pull this analogy to producing, but it's like our brains, you know, come up with this sort of logic to comprehend the world, and when that's under attack, it becomes very painful. And so you have to get to the situation where you've fallen so low that holding on to that belief gives you less dopamine than just killing the ego and having it be reborn as the phoenix. There's also a really good quote in Fight Club that I heard this week that I've really been liking, especially because I'm always on like a self-improvement kick and always looking for the next thing and always in competition with yourself, right? But there's a quote in Fight Club where it's like, self-improvement isn't the answer, it's self-destruction. And I like that. He
says self-improvement is masturbation.
Oh, word.
Shouts to Brad Pitt.
Shout outs Tyler Durden. But no, the quote is real, because I think we talked about this in an episode or two ago where it's like the ego never dies. It's reborn like the phoenix. And I mean, hell, my producing philosophy is kind of like that. And I find the 3-month mark, like you said, Luke, is like that sweet spot where it's like approximately every 3 months, I've killed off a bunch of techniques that I've been relying on, and I've adopted new techniques. And it's like the crucial stuff is sort of like the core of the planet. It's got the most gravitational pull, and it's pulling everything else towards it. And maybe some of that stuff flies back out into space, but it's like the stuff closest to the core always. Not always, you know, maybe there's an asteroid crashes into your little tiny planet and it gets totally obliterated and you need to rebuild from scratch. I've been through phases like that where I've adopted like horrible habits and had to undo stuff. But yeah, I feel like generally that 3-month mark, it's like I'm not the same person, or I'm not doing the same stuff producing wise. I mean, yeah, I'm not even the same person I was 3 months ago, realistically.
True.
I like it.